Yeah, Michigan is a big into disc golf. There's a ton of courses out there, and the amount of discs that you carry ranges anywhere from pretty much a minimum of 3 to a bag of, like you said, 20 or 30. And I liken it to a bag of golf clubs. You have different discs for different types of throws.
Yep.
All right,
Thanks for the call.
Yeah, no, that's great, and it just shows that this is not something that's kind of a quote unquote kind of crazy local thing. This is played all across the country and New England, right?
Absolutely. There's one of the major tournaments is actually down in Leicester, Massachusetts, in July. It's usually in July, August timeframe, and all the professionals come out. And if you want to see how this game really can be played, you should check that out. It's absolutely amazing. It's called the Vibram Open.
Okay. And now one thing also too to let folks understand is, I was under the impression, before that this was kind of, the course itself, and it was fairly open in an open area, and it was, not to say like ultimate frisbee to a point, but there was a lot of room. But that's actually really not the case. A lot of these courses or these holes are in the woods, and you need to actually be fairly accurate in throwing around trees and other obstacles, correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Different courses have different layouts. Some are at old ball golf courses, so they tend to be more open.
Yeah.
Our particular course is very wooded and what we call a technical course, and it's really about accuracy, not the big throwers. But if you go out Midwest, then it's wide open, and it's all about the big throwers and dealing with the wind, and it's a whole different kind of game for those folks.
So to put an analogy with golf, let's say there's some places that would be like Brentwood if you play golf, where it's very open and there's not a lot of trees, or maybe at Shattuck where the fairways are very narrow,
or even like Pine or the one in Spofford.
Oh, yes, Pine Grove.
Yeah.
Yes, same idea. And also too, one thing. Now, what about elevation? Is it fairly flat? Is it a lot of ups and downs? Is it can folks who an average walking healthy person
How about
do
an
the
old
course?
golfer like Dad here?
It could be a workout. There's definitely holes on at Otterbrook that have steep inclines. The designers really brought into elevation into play for some of the holes. So we go up some hills and down others, and it's actually a pretty good hike.
So that's good. So it's pretty much a sport that almost anyone can play. Now, you have some leagues and you have grouping together. What's like the youngest person you have playing? I mean,
well, I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they both play. I've been out to Otterbrook with them, hiked the whole course with them. Obviously, they're not throwing as far as I am, but we play best disc. I throw, and we play for my disc, and they get a chance. And all the way up to 70 years old, they have grandmasters that play in the World Disc Golf Championships that are over 70. So the age ranges are extreme.
Yeah, and I would think it would be similar to regular golf. I mean, a lot of folks over 70 can play golf, and I suppose they want to shoot their age. Maybe you could do the same thing with disc golf, right?
Well, and also we have in our course we have A tees and B tees. So there's some tees that are closer, so you can play to your ability from which tee you choose for the particular hole.
Oh, okay. So similar to like a woman's tee, so to speak.
Yeah, we call it amateur, but yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Now, okay. Now let's talk some about the discs that you guys use here. Now we have one out up on the table. Now let me grab a few other ones that maybe are maybe bigger or shorter or weirder discs, and because one thing that I want people to understand is that these really aren't these disc golf discs really aren't they're not like regular frisbees, and I know you guys probably hate that word frisbee.
Yeah, these are discs. They're not frisbees.
And again, frisbee is a name brand necessarily.
It's a trademark.
Right, it's a trademark like Band-Aid or Kool-Aid and stuff like that. But they're not that big. I mean, these are probably maybe about anywhere from 8 to 10 inches across. They have kind of a really hard edge, so to speak, at the very edge, and I would imagine that would be why is that compared to a regular disc or a frisbee that would be kind of have the same thickness through all of it?
Well, the key is the speed. The drivers have a more beveled edge, a sharper edge, and the idea is that it will cut through the air and actually travel further. Now you have to throw it harder to get it to do and go straight,
right?
Because of that, but it's generally that's for the drivers, and then mid-ranges and putters are actually more of a rounded edge, more like a beach disc or a regular league disc.
So this neon one would be, now what style, what would this
That's
would,
a mid-range.
That's
yeah.
kind of a mid-range one, and this one would be a little shorter range.
That's a putter.
That's a putter right there.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
And you can see the thickness of the putter is actually designed so that it grabs the chains when you hit the chains and drop it into the basket. The idea is the thickness allows you to grab more of the chain.
Right. So now as we're looking at these frisbee and you're talking about that, let's kind of just get to the the infrastructure of the hole itself. And maybe people don't quite understand. You're talking about tees. You're talking about holes. So Bob, maybe you can explain in disc golf what that actually means.
It's actually very, very similar to ball golf. You have a tee box that you start from. You have a par for the hole, which in our case is typically 3, maybe 4, and you make a throw. You have that many throws to get it into the basket, and so.
Now, when you say basket, now describe the basket itself. The hole. What is that like? How big is it? How deep is it? How does it catch the frisbee, so to speak?
Well, it's also referred to as a pole hole. So basically, it's a pole that I don't even know how to describe it. It basically has a cover on it, and on that cover there are some chains that are hooked to it, anywhere between 27 and 36, depending on the type of basket. And then there's generally just a catch area. It's a basket. So if you hit the chains, the idea is to hit the chains and drop the disc into the basket. Now, if you hit the chains and it doesn't actually land in the cup, we'll call it,
yep.
It doesn't count. So just because you hit metal, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's quote unquote in the hole.
So then it's kind of a gimme, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
And so that's kind of, so in a sense, it's still the idea. I mean, it's still the basic idea, but actually the hole, you're not really throwing it into a hole. You're throwing it at an object on a pole.
Exactly.
Correct.
It's like a catching device, I guess is a better way to say
And how high up is the basket off the ground? Is it 3, 4, 6 feet?
4 feet.
4 feet. So you don't necessarily have to